Mostly when we engage with sponsors, we like to think about how we can bring our infrastructure to their studies. It's really one where from the rarest of rare diseases to large vaccine or CVOT studies, for example, we have the ability to use different tools in the toolbox to be able to solve substantial issues that they're facing, whether it's finding that one patient in 1,000 who would be eligible for the study, or if it's finding ways to effectively reach out and pre-screen tens of thousands of individuals for a study. We focused on building out the infrastructure and then finding ways to appropriately match that to therapeutic areas over time. Now, as we've done that, there have been areas that have emerged as the most advanced use cases for Walgreens outreach and for trial conduct.
Such as, what are those?
No, absolutely. And a lot of those have come back to things like simple diagnostics and screening studies to be able to validate measures for things like early cancer detection, or things like vaccine studies, to be able to find ways to integrate in and recruit patients into studies for things like hyperlipidemia or for a chronic kidney disease. And so as we look at different ends of the spectrum, it's really about how we can utilize our strengths at either finding a very small set of patients out of a very large pool, or in reaching as many people as possible and really limiting the burden of participation for those patients as they look at enroll.
Tony, any limitations for you guys? Is it pretty broad, like John was describing? You got him? John, or Tony, you still with us?
Oh, apologies, popped onto mute again.
Okay.
So it depends on the problem you're trying to solve, right? So if it's trying to identify the right patient, pharmacy data is incredible in healthy and cardiac, metabolic, right? Immunology in many cases. It's probably a range of about 6 to 8 TAs that we've done work in with clients that off the bat, pharmacy data is going to be deep in. But as you go up the level of kind of complexity, you have to think about where specialty pharmacy data, we have the leading specialty pharmacy in the US as well, or health plan data, right? And this is where I think being part of Aetna is well starts to give a lot of differentiation. You can find and interact with patients differently depending on the view you have. So there's certain categories you can really open up as you start to either have additional ways in which you interact with patients or additional external partners. So obviously can work with almost any disease area if it's a standard of care visit. And then there's really a range, right? We're running vaccine studies. We're in a few other categories as well, sort of in the clinic today, really running kind of trials end to end. And finally, if you think about real world evidence, right? It's a business we've been building for about 8 years as well. We've done, over 130 studies. It's a slightly different view, right? Where suddenly the TAs that we've operated in are broad again, right? And you can theoretically really deliver, I think, really interesting patient-driven insights for sponsors and regulators, I think, across a range of TAs. So long answer is that. Short answer is I'd say we're active in about 18 therapeutic areas, again, with a variability by product.